What's up, everybody? Matt Nuzzo, hanging out here. Beautiful Tabaroo Island. Taking some sessions. Been fortunate to spend this week with Armstrong, checking out the development process. And while I was here, it was really cool to see all what goes into this development process. And I want to talk about the 935 Performance Mast. He's had over 100 of these things that he has designed, developed, tested to get to the completed product. And so we're going to come here and get it from the horse's mouth. We got the 935 here, a couple of them coming with this beautiful little foil bag here, reflect the heat off of it. And these things, like one of the things I was expecting with a high modulus, high performance mast was going to be kind of really heavy, but this one is just slightly heavier than the 85 centimeter. And you know, performance wise, you just get a lot more control, particularly for those really wide wingspan wings and stuff. Armie, as is expected, is constantly tweaking gear, testing, tweaking, testing, tweaking, getting the samples ready. Armie, talk to me about the 935.
Well, yeah, super excited about 935 Performance Mast. We've done a bunch of work on this in the last couple of years and really got super lucky hooking up with some of the top foil section designers on the planet. And those guys, we showed them what we were doing and what, you know, the sports we're doing and the speed ranges we're going and what sort of lows, and they were like, well, try these sections. And I was like, wow, it's a pretty small difference, let's try it. And just mind blown, such a massive difference with how the section moves through the water. More forgiving, different angles, just way smoother top to bottom. You drop the mast all the way in and just no difference in drag. Like, it's mind blowing. So yeah, really improved our riding. So anyone wanting to push it, go faster, harder, this is gonna be the mast for you. And also how that section translates the fibers. We've got a whole bunch of high mod fiber in these masts, running top to bottom, 0s, 45s, 10s and 30s, all to really improve the torsional stiffness. But we didn't want to make them really heavy, so we took a bunch of weight out of the top, and we've got our new M7 mast top hardware with an enlarged head, custom screw made for this mast. And we've taken this, you know, meat out of the mast top where we didn't need it, and put that material in the vertical to give it way more torsional stiffness. So
doesn't it wrap around here too, right?
Yeah, so the fibers, they wrap in various orientations all the way around the bottom bracket and back up the other side, and that just gives you a full 100% connection to this bottom bracket, which was the whole idea of the system. And we've tapered this bottom bracket with the foil section, so the same foil section geometry that's in the vertical we've put into the bottom bracket as well, so it just tapers onto the fuselage, much cleaner than the previous version. And yeah, it's a big upgrade top and bottom, but the magic really is in the section, and that thing, it's really come from, you know, the top of the top. Like, the guy that helped us with this has been designing the America's Cup foil sections, and he designed basically the foil section software. So he knows what he's talking about. And
can you tell us what a section is? Like, I didn't know what a section was before they started running me through
well,
this
yeah,
stuff.
it's a profile or section. Basically, if you cut it straight through parallel to the water flow, it's the curves, you know, two-dimensional sort of shape each side, how those curves relate to each other. So this has got a really fine reflex. It's just beautiful how it flows out of the trailing edge. And then the leading edge curve, that's like the leading edge curvature to me up until the thickest part of the foil. It's like a bit of a dark art, really. Those guys they've done the most work on it, and it does get really mathematical because it's about the cavitation bucket, which you might not be cavitating, but that will affect how it's pushing through the water, and also the angle through which you can push it at before it'll ventilate. That's massive, right? So, and
I've been hearing about it from pros, what he's talking about, ventilating and cavitating your mast. Hearing about it from pros, I experienced with a few other masts where I was riding, winging, and you're not even going that fast, and all of a sudden thing like sticking the spokes, and I didn't breach a wingtip. That's actually happening way before you're hitting those high speeds. And I'm talking to a lot of really top surfers or wingers that are ripping, and they're just they're having ventilation cavitation in their mass, and
yeah,
they're
so
like
two different things. So ventilation, if you're pushing it through too wide an angle, you have an imperfection in your leading edge, or the shape's a bit funky, then it can suck air down to the low pressure zone above your foil. Cavitation is where you're actually boiling water at the leading edge, right? So that's a totally different thing. Now, once you start getting cavitation, it can also suck air down, but we're not really hitting cavitation speeds, but that cavitation bucket does inform how the section goes even at lower speed, right? So it gets really technical, but those guys gave us the section shape. I looked at it and went, it's not that different to what we've used. Let's try it. And just mind blown. Like, you get on the thing, it's so different. Like, that's the thing. It's just way cleaner through the water, when you drop to the bottom of the mast, just doesn't give you mast drag at all, so you can just pop back up onto foil, no problem. Landing jumps, it's just super clean. But yeah, really forgiving and way more torsionally rigid with our, our new fiber layup, and how we've oriented the fiber. That's also gone through the top engineers, and how we've really laid it up with the section. So the section, getting back to that question, it's about pushing the mass. You've got to connect your board to your foil. The section's about pushing that mass through the water as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, and a lot of people in the mast game is just, let's just make it stiffer. Like the stiffness is the only metric that I'm hearing. Is it aluminum or is it carbon, and is it stiff enough, right? That's kind of the only metric that I'm hearing about. But when you talk to Armstrong, obviously this mast is going to be significantly stiffer, but it's also way thinner. And in the section, the torsional rigidity, how it goes, the strength, right? You can jump up and down on this. What was the brake strength of this one?
Yeah, so we load test these with a 600 mil span to over a ton. They break between about 1,010 and 1,100 kg point load in the middle, but that's just like maximum point load. We do a bunch of torsional testing. We also test them to 200 kgs to 30 to 50 cycles to get an average deflection, and we've measured over 100 masts and done a lot of work on the layup, and the section feeds into that. So the section chord percentage thickness is really critical, but also where those curves are and how they fit, and then how you get the fibers around those curves. So we've done a lot of work on that in this mast, and we're really excited with it. It's fully next level for us, and yeah, stoked to bring it out.
And if really the person that wants this is someone that wants to bring their riding to the next level, that is riding at high speeds, riding really wide span, riding in really challenging conditions. Again, watching Armstrong and Bevan and some of the riders that are just absolutely ripping on these things, just going as hard as they can go, they find they get that control, and they're getting way more power projection through their turns. For a more novice rider like myself, it just gives me a lot more ease of use in riding in what I'm doing. So if you got more questions, reach out online. Thank you, Armstrong, appreciate that. Give us a call at shop 252-987-6000. Reach out, realwatersports.com. See you for the next session on the water.